So, some food for thought. A friend of mine, her mom, recently passed away at home, and there were many things that they didn't realize that they needed for end of life care. As tough of a subject this is for many, even for nurses, there's some things that you need to know as far as being prepared for that someday what if. And some of the most important things that people don't realize that they should have in place beforehand are often overlooked. For example, make sure you have a medical and financial POA. There's forms online. You can do it for really cheap yourself and have that pre-set up long before anything were to happen. Make sure you have a will. There's also a thing called a living will, which is something you can file with your hospital system and for your medical records. That also will it'll help direct what kind of care you expect to have should something happen. For example, do you want a feeding tube? Do you want to be intubated? These are things that people don't want to think about, but it's important that you need to think about, especially right now with COVID running rampant. There are a lot of people being ventilated. They're being put on ventilators and being intubated, and understandably, hopefully they come out of it. Unfortunately, with COVID infections, we're seeing a lot of people are not surviving once they're put on a vent. So there's a lot of things that go into the whole COVID bit, but we're going to skip all that and go straight to end of life and discuss those kinds of things. So besides paperwork, there's also some healthcare organizations have a thing called the 5 Wishes. It's a form where you can fill out. It's very simple, what you would want to have done if something were to happen in this kind of scenario or that kind of scenario. If you were put on life support, how long do you want to be left on life support until it's time to decide, do we do this, do we not? Do we keep fighting or not? Make sure you're having these discussions as well with your family and friends so that they know what your wishes are. Me being a nurse, my husband is fully aware of what my wishes are and what I would deem to be appropriate. As far as things that you will need for end of life care. Obviously, hospice will provide many items, like a hospital bed, a tray table, which is the table with wheels that goes over the bed. They provide oxygen therapy. If you need oxygen, they provide all kinds of support, but they're not there 24/7 to care for your loved one. And that's something that a lot of people don't realize. There are companies that do home health care, such as BrightStar, that I've heard about. I actually used to work for BrightStar. They do a wonderful job. It's a great support, but it is costly. They do accept some insurances, and this is where you really have to do your homework. Like BrightStar will accept certain health insurance companies, but they do not accept Medicare, Medicaid. They do not accept. There are other companies that do. but you have to do your research. As far as other stuff that you might not realize, you're going to need lots of twin-size bed sheets. You're going to need what are called bed pads. They're cloth. We call them chucks in the healthcare industry. We call them chucks. We use them for positioning in the bed. They help you with pulling a patient up into the bed so that they're up higher, because those adjustable beds you slide down in. Bedpans, urinals for males. There's also female urinals, which may or may not work. Depends on anatomy. Some other things, paper chucks. They're like plastic with like cotton on top that help absorb things. I don't particularly recommend them. I prefer the cloth ones because those ones you can actually wash. The other things that you need, clothing that is appropriate for the situation that you were in. A lot for like the ladies, the easy way to go is dresses, actually, with a cutting up a slit up the back and arranging like snaps that snap down, so that at least it closes in the back, so that no one's gonna see, but in the front it looks like a full-on dress. Otherwise you can just use nightgowns. For men, I would make sure that they have t-shirts, because they're flexible, much easier to get on and off. And make sure you have plenty of towels and washcloths. There's a thing called a water basin. You can actually buy those at the Dollar Tree for $1, and they're just a plastic bucket that's kind of square in shape, and you can use it to store items, but you also use it to do bed baths. You can use it for warm soapy water or warm water for shaving. For male or females, I would recommend an electric razor. If you are not accustomed to shaving an elderly person, I would recommend having an electric shaver. Whatever your preference is for an electric shaver, you just make sure you have a way to power it. Making sure you have various lotions that are not scented and do not have alcohol in them. Alcohol in lotions actually dries out the skin faster than, say, a nice creamy udder balm cream, or Desitin cream. You're going to want Desitin cream as well, for rashes and whatnot. You're going to need tons of pillows. Pillows are especially useful for repositioning. It's not just for comfort for the neck, it's also for positioning the body. They have wedge pillows that actually help with lifting the body and turning them on their side so that they don't get pressure sores. You don't want pressure sores. Pressure sores are the worst. They're very difficult to heal, especially on someone who is in the process of passing. Because the body is passing, it's not going to expend that extra energy to try to heal itself. It's just not. It's trying to keep the main organ systems running. It's not going to heal a wound. There are different kinds of pads that are like for wound care, but oftentimes we use them on bony prominences, such as elbows, elbows, knees, heels, anything that's pokes out of the body, and they have nice cushion. They're nice thick cushiony bandage. You can actually put those on those bony prominences to also help protect those areas and prevent sores. I highly recommend a kind of a roll pillow, and using that and putting it right underneath the Achilles, to help lift those heels off of the bed, lift them up so that they're not pressing down into the mattress, they're kind of hovering above it. That way you don't get sores there. Turning is incredibly important. Frequent turning. They recommend every 2 hours turning. As a nurse working even in facilities, even when hospice was there, I was going in there and turning that patient at least every hour. It's so important to get that pressure off and allow the blood flow to continue, and to keep it from pooling in one particular area. Some other things that many people don't realize is oral care. Oral care is incredibly important, especially during end of life. The difficulty with doing oral care during end of life is that you can't really use a toothbrush and brush their teeth and have them spit, unless they're capable of doing that at that time. But once they can't, you need what's called a toothette. It's basically a stick with a little sponge on the end, and you just wet it. It's actually got, you can even get them with like toothpaste already infused into the sponge. You can get them wet and then just swipe around. You're not trying to brush the teeth, you're just trying to keep things as clean as possible and keep the mouth moisturized. That is incredibly important, because after a while they're just going to keep breathing in and out through their mouth, and it's going to get incredibly dry and be very uncomfortable. Some other things, lip balm. Vaseline works in a pinch, but there are some really nice lip balms that you can use that will help also with the oral care. Hair. How do you wash hair? Well, it's very difficult. There's actually, if you're getting down towards the end, or they're completely incapable, there are what's called shower caps. Now, they're not your typical shower cap. It's not something you wear in the shower to prevent your hair from getting wet. This is actually a special cap that you put in the microwave and it warms up. It's only like 20 seconds you put it in for. Okay, you put it on their head and you massage it into their hair. It's so humid here. I got all these little squirrely curls going on. But you massage it into their scalp, okay? And you take it off and it's done. It's a nice little shampoo cap. You can find them in most pharmacies. Otherwise, I'm sure you can request them from the hospice. A lot of people are moving away from the shampoo caps. They feel that it's not really necessary towards the end. I think it would be nice to continue those, because could you imagine being there with your hair all greasy and you're dying? I'd be like, please, somebody wash my hair. Please just wash my hair. So let's see. So washcloths, towels, a shampoo cap, shaver, towels, water basin, lotion, good butt cream, Desitin butt cream, or some sort of equivalent, and lots of positioning pillows, lots of sheets, chucks, and any other incontinence products that you would like to use. And remember to ask for help. I think that's the number one thing that people forget is you forget to ask for help, or you think you can just do it yourself. Ask friends, ask family, ask somebody who can just sit with your family members so you can have a shower. Ask somebody to come by and, visit with your loved one so that you can cook a nice meal. I mean, when you're going through this situation, you're going to be struggling with trying to even figure out what's for dinner. So there's that. One more thing. As long as they are up and able to eat and able to drink, you need to be conscious of textures of food and liquids. Some elderly end up needing their food pureed or chopped really, really finely to make it easier for them to swallow. That would be something to keep in mind. So, I'm kind of weird. I like my applesauce really, really pureed down, really fine. So stuff like that, I would keep my eyes on making sure that they have the kind of textures and thicknesses for their liquids that they need. They do have, if you have a family member who needs, for example, a honey thick, there's different levels of thickness. You have just regular thin liquid, which would be just like a cup of juice. Then you have nectar thick. They also sell thickeners, so you can thicken liquids yourself. But they have also pre-mades, but you have what's called nectar thick, which is kind of, it's hard to describe because I'm so used to just doing it. I would say it's kind of like a watery gel. And then you have honey thick, which is like when you're trying to pour honey out of a jar, it's that thick. Then you have pudding thick liquids, which is you might as well be, it's what it sounds like, you might as well be eating pudding. But for some people, that's what they need. So, thickening agents, and it's not just cornstarch or flour. You have to go out and get these special thickeners because the cornstarch and the flour being added to juices and things like that would just not work very well at all. These are specialty items that are specially designed to help you with this. They even come up with ones that are just little packets. You can put one packet in to make it real easy for yourself. Otherwise, they do come in canisters, just like your hot cocoa mix. And you can just use a little scooper and add it to the liquids. If I think of anything further, I will be sure to update this video. I want to thank you for hanging with me while we discuss all of this. It is a difficult subject to discuss, but the number one thing is make sure that paperwork is in order. So many doctors and nurses don't know what to do for you or your loved one if there isn't some kind of paperwork that directs them who to talk to, what it is that you want. If you don't have family members or a POA, make sure you at the very least have a living will or a 5 wishes filled out so that it's in your chart. The electronic MAR, it goes with you just about everywhere. Make sure you have that in place. Do you want to be an organ donor? Do you not want to be an organ donor? I mean, there's so much that goes into the paperwork, but it needs to be in line. It helps prevent questions. It helps prevent issues later when family members are like, well, I don't know, should we do this? Should we do that? The only way to know is by you telling them and having that paperwork in order so that they can see it. It's in black and white. It's right there. Even if they don't agree with your wishes, that's your wish and they can't go against it. If you have any questions, feel free to put them below. I will see what I can do to answer them. I'm new to this YouTube thing, so moving forward, if you have any further questions, I'll just put them down below and I'll try to answer them, and we will move forward. I'm looking forward to making more videos, mostly baking and cooking and canning, but if you have any medical questions or things like that, please see your physician. You know, don't just ask me down below, hey, I got a rash. Please don't ask me that. I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose. All right. So be good, be safe,